For us, for the Dalles, there are just some fantastic stories. This is a community of centuries of faces.
15 murals, 4 days, 220 artists from all over the world.
Looking down this wall just this morning and seeing 30 hands working on the wall. And then looking up and seeing people up on stages and scaffolding, and everybody's just working hard.
These painters are just phenomenal, and to meet them and to know that they're from different countries, it's been something that I've been astonished about since day one.
Seeing the town busy and alive and happy, it gives me pride and it gives me hope.
There's a buzz. There's so many out-of-towners that have come here. This is a full-on 15 murals in 4 days. I invited 45 people to come to our movie theater, and I showed them a film, and it was on a Walldogs event that took place in Streator, Illinois. This is a really cool thing, and I really think that it's something that we should do or could do in this community.
At that point, the mayor saw the video and a few other people, and they were sold. David Benko got to work right away, gathering historians to figure out themes. I spend a lot of time just walking through the streets, identifying walls.
They felt it, that this was something special. This was something that they wanted and that they thought would work where they called home.
Obviously, you need to start with the stories. With the historians, we were meeting every other week, almost for a year.
After our first round of ideas, we had public input in 2 ways, both in person here at the Neon Sign Museum and online. And other topics were suggested for the murals. We considered them very seriously and tried to make our final choices more diverse.
Ultimately, we put it out for a community vote.
There is seeds of knowledge stored in many different places.
Stories get preserved different ways and different people have different memories. One thing that historians discover is that there are several versions to a lot of the stories around here. Let's try to get the story right. And then, of course, working with the mural artists, we certainly want to get the story right here because that is public and on a wall, and people are going to see that at least for the next 20 years or so, and maybe more.
It's been a huge organization that's come together to put this together, and part of their purpose is to help towns come together and get rid of some of the animosities, and that's, I'm sure, is going to be a huge boon for this town.
Somebody came down and said, "Oh my gosh, this is a great wall for MuralFest." And I was like, "What's MuralFest? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, I want to put a mural on your wall." And I was like, "Oh, cool, so do I. How do we do that?"
When I first heard about it, I just had an immediate sense that it would be something really good for the community. Bring people together and further the sense of place and the pride of place.
The Walldogs started off about 30 years ago by a lady named Nancy Bennett. She contacted top of the sign designers in the country and invited them to a small town in Iowa to paint murals.
Walldogs is kind of a historic term for somebody hanging from a rope on the side of a building painting a big advertisement. That term was sort of embraced 40-ish years ago by a bunch of young painters who realized that there was an opportunity to tell stories. They would get together, nobody gets paid, they take a week off work, they come in and they paint beautiful murals, usually telling the historical people, events, and places in small communities.
The reason they call them that, they work on walls and they work like dogs.
A lot of scenic artists that show up, muralists, and people throughout the country, and Canadians. We have people from Scotland, England, Australia show up. It's a brush fest when it comes down to it. People pull out their brushes, they come with their brushes, and the town feeds them. The town sets up the staging, they put paint on the table.
I remember the first time that I called Jay Allen and I just said, what would it take? Is it something that we could consider doing a Walldogs festival on the West Coast? The phone went quiet for a little while and he said, "We've been waiting for somebody to ask us."
I've been with the Walldogs since the beginning. I'm an original. I was a mere 34 years old. Now I'm 63. We're doing our best to discourage each Walldog community from taking on such a massive project. And if they sort of pass through the gauntlet on the other side, you're going to end up with them in your town. Based on the community's desire, they'll show where we need to go. But along the way, we've also had to learn the science of how you operate in community. And it became as much about the public in public art as it did about the art in public art. But it's the community that's the hero. We're strangers, we're here 5 days. We don't live with it, we trade for family reunion.
It was amazing to see people getting together. Some people had seen each other every year for many years in a row. Some people hadn't seen each other for 5 years. They were hugging and crying together and telling family stories and how's it been going and what's going on and which one are you working on? Oh, it's gonna be great, I'll come over. And then, you know, all the residents walking around and everybody is just happy and excited and working together and having a ball of a time. And at the same time, these amazing murals are growing up. It's incredible. It's just creativity at its best.
Walldogs brought people from all over the world. If they didn't bring their own community, I don't know that it would have survived. All we can do is support, right? The least I could do was feed them. That's my art.
I was struck by how the Walldogs embraced the Dalles and its history. They were so prepared. They knew their topic. They were excited about their topic. That was noticed by so many in the community that they loved talking to us. They loved taking the time to find out more about us. And they obviously understood small town America.
The week prior to MuralFest starting, they said, hey, guess what? Do you know anybody from San Luis Obispo? And I was like, is this for real? He's like, yeah, it's for real. Oh my gosh. So I start Facebook stalking, calling family and friends that are down there that in Pismo or in San Luis Obispo. So I'm like, hey, do you know anything about this guy? And they're like, oh my gosh, we do. This is real. And it was Old Home Week. It just felt the closest I could feel to being back in Morro Bay in San Luis where I was raised. I have lifelong friends now. I couldn't have asked for a better gift.
Many of these artists actually go way beyond what is given to them and spend a lot of time getting background information on these particular themes. I feel very fortunate to have such a great crew of project leads.
It's been almost 3 years, and now it's hundreds of volunteers all over town. That's just awesome.
One of my goals coming into this one was actually making it more diversified.
We are doing more female topics than any community has ever done. Native American topic, the historic Chinese community. It's an opportunity to tell a lot of people's stories in beautiful artwork. We have a pretty diverse group of people, places, and things.
And how do we do this in a way that's respectful and tells an accurate story? Also to include our Latin community who has contributed to our economy, to our well-being in this community.
The mayor, he texted me and said that he had this project that he needed help with. They wanted to have something about what represents the Latino community. They wanted to talk about the Bracero project, which my mom came when she came the first time. Me and my daughter got pictures together. Carmelo Gámez, a person that everybody knows, and he is known by riding horses. He has charro outfits, so I asked him for his pictures. I know a lot of people that work in the orchards. One of the pictures on the mural is my daughter when she was teatro quinceañera. Our grandparents are represented there as well because for us, we're family oriented, right? So los Mexicanos, because 99% of the Latino community in the Dalles is from Mexico. La familia is the more important thing in our lives. You live with your grandma, you don't take your parents to the senior center because you live with them and you take care of them until they die. The Virgin, because we're very religious, and the Virgin Mary represents Mexico. To have something like that and wanting to finally have a voice being in the mural is indescribable. I almost cry because it's something that It's going to be there for our generation and the next generation. I cannot explain how it feels for me and for our Latino community.
The history of the Chinese throughout Oregon was not something that was covered in schools when I was growing up. The ways that they immigrated and the ways they interacted with other people. The first portrait is of Li Yunhong. He operated a merchandise store and a laundry. The second gentleman is Li Jack, and he was considered the unofficial mayor of Chinatown. The last two portraits are Wang Ling and his wife Chun Shi, and they had the Chukey store. And that was one of the longest running Chinese businesses in the Dalles. Having the mural there is an important way that we recognize that they were there. It's a starting point for conversations. I think it got people interested in keeping our downtown preserved and historic, attracting businesses and visitors. As a Chinese American, I wanted to say, I'm putting paint on this because it means something to me.
We identify ourselves as Wayempum people, those that live along the river. My grandfather, his name was Howard Jim. When I was a young girl, he was a chief for Celilo Village. For me to have my grandfather to be a chief, it's something that I always hold dearly to me. We had a very rich upbringing, and when my mother would speak to my grandfather, it was always spoken the Sahaptin language. The indigenous people, the Native American people have always been here and they've never left. Our culture is rich. And when I see the murals that have Celilo, it makes me feel like they are honoring us as Native Americans and us as a local tribe and where we come from. I told them, I said, you're painting my home, and I got emotional. Just for you to be here to paint it is so meaningful to me. Celilo Falls is no longer. It was something that once was there. So being able to see those murals and see the pictures of the men fishing, for me, that's an honor, a generation that's being done. Knowing that we still practice our culture, that we are forever going to be here and that we're not ever going to leave.
So I'm super honored to have been here and participate on this amazing project and be one of the painters among many. I hope I made a lot of people happy doing this mural. That's what counts for me.
My mother is Christine Thompson Gonwellis. This is her grandfather and her father. She's the only one left of the Thompson grandchildren. And when we were approached with this, it was just something that meant the world. This is such a big thing for her and her heart. And I know our chiefs are up there happy.
The whole community came together to make this Mural Fest happen and be successful, to encourage the Walldogs as they were painting, go out and help them to participate in painting the murals. This is the type of thing that happens in the Dalles, not just this week, but it has been happening this way for years and years and years. It's a characteristic of the Dalles.
We have to be able to be respectful of each other and to learn to be mindful of each other, especially as a community, to bring everybody together, to learn each other's culture. We want to see more of this. We can dance for who we are.
This community has come together incredibly, and I'm so gratified by the volunteers, all local people that have come forward to help the painters make this a truly great event. Seeing the effort and the detail that has gone into each of the pieces on the walls has just been amazing. That to me is the greatest thing that has been left here by the painters and the people that have come here from across the world. It's done nothing but bring the community together. We had 3 goals. One was to help our downtown, 2 was to promote art, and 3 was to have a lot of fun, and all 3 have been accomplished in spades. They know I'm the mayor and they come up and they say, thank you for letting us come here and paint your town. It's like, wow. It's the spirit is just on all sides. It's just been tremendous.
We would have never, ever been able to do anything like this had the Walldogs not chosen the Dalles. It still baffles my mind that all of these were done in a week, some of them less than a week. You can't do that without a community that will back you up. Sure as heck is going to take a village to put on something as big as Walldogs.
It wasn't something that you had to buy a ticket for. It wasn't something that you had to be asked to do. You could be part of it.
I'm thinking of the future. We have a backlog of ideas. Many other ideas that would be nice murals, and I've heard a couple of people say, oh, we still have blank walls in this town. We ought to be filling them with some new murals.
So who are the heroes? The community that was brave enough to do this, was courageous enough to take a complete risk on something that's now a proven entity after 29 years. Because in their time of leadership, this was something that was dropped on their plate, and they decided, I'm going to pick it up and run with this, and we'll find an active community. And in this day and age, if we can find something that we agree on, I think that's what we should do.